What feels fundamentally different from the first time when you stepped into senior leadership?
The leadership style is changing dramatically. Some of the knowledge that we acquired from the past may become irrelevant. So it's very important for leaders to unlearn what we have learned and also learn new things.
What makes such long horizon collaborations succeed?
Now, three things very important in this scenario. First one is policy. Second is technology. Third is relationship. Nobody has the answer. You have to navigate and collaborate with different diverse group of ideas.
Hi, Eriko Asai.
Hi, Jyoti.
With pride and pleasure, I welcome you to Inside the Mind of a Leader series.
Thank you very much for inviting.
Eriko San, you've led across Sony, Microsoft Japan, and GE Japan. And today, you're on boards like the Nomura Research Institute and the Kyndryl Institute. When you look at today's world, geopolitical tensions, supply chain reconfigurations, and the AI acceleration that we see all around us, what feels fundamentally different from the first time when you stepped into senior leadership?
So thank you for the question, Jyoti. So when I think about this very uncertain world, we don't know what the answer is. So the leadership style is changing dramatically. So we talk about experiences, but if you think about things like AI, some of the knowledge that we acquired from the past may become irrelevant. So it's very important for leaders to unlearn what we have learned and also learn new things and to understand that or accept the fact that we don't know the answers to some of those questions and be humble and listening to people. So I guess it used to be in the old days, you would have a strong charismatic leader leading a big organization. But these days, different generations have different expectations for leaders. So we stay humble and we listen to the young generation who are the digital natives who can teach us about the new innovation and work together. So I see a very big shift in the way leadership behaviors are being expected.
So we have a lot to learn. And
Yes.
as Rumi has famously said, unlearn to learn.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Your career started at Sony, then moved to Microsoft Japan, and later to GE Japan. Three very different corporate ecosystems. At Sony, rooted in Japanese corporate philosophy. At Microsoft, in a fast-scaling American technology culture. At GE, in a global industrial powerhouse. What changed in your leadership style across these varied environments?
Yes. So as you say, these were three very distinct, different organizations. And every step of the way, I have learned something new and my leadership evolved. So starting with Sony, I was in my mid-20s. And that was the first time I started working in different cultures. So I started working in Japan, and then I went to Europe to work with the European team. Although I worked for a Japanese company, I was a minority in the team. So I learned to be a minority, which is very important for working in a dynamic team today in a global mindset. So that I learned at the very early stage. I also spoke English, but communication is more than English. So within a very pan-European team, I really focused on communicating effectively with a transparent behavior. And that was very important during that period. Now, after Sony, I joined Microsoft. Sony is a Japanese company, a hardware company. Nowadays, they do software, but in those days, it's more of a hardware company. So if you think about developing a hardware, it's more of a perfectionist thinking. In Japanese, it's called majime. It's a perfectionist thinking. On the other hand, Microsoft is a software company. So the way you develop hardware and software is quite different. It's more agile. It's not perfect. You provide software updates every month on your Windows platform. So the approach to developing a software is completely different from hardware. The speed is different. It's more agile. The culture is different. So I have learned to be managing the team and also working in an environment such different values. And then coming to GE, again, was a totally different experience. At that time, I became a people leader, meaning that I have a team, I manage talent, I focus on developing talent. And those were the times when I thought about, as a female leader, how do I nurture next generation of female leaders? And there was a GE group called GE Women's Network, and I became a leader of the GE Women's Network in Japan, making sure that we have a network of talented female employees, and we work together to elevate and grow together and make sure that these talented next generation of female leaders take on big responsibilities. That was a very rewarding experience for me. And then those years, when I became a president of GE Japan, this was in 2018. So soon the COVID came. So it was an experience that nobody had experienced before. And the Olympic game was held in Tokyo, and GE was a global partner, but there was a big restrictions and the project was very difficult to deliver. So there were all these challenges as a leader, leading the organization GE. And this taught me how to be resilient and be decisive in a very challenging environment. So every step of the way, different companies gave me different opportunities.
So we can safely say, the challenges that you faced, whether it was being a minority in your own team or the COVID, those challenges shaped up the leader in you.
Yes.
Eriko-san, you played a pivotal role in reaching financial closure on projects supported by Japan's Export Credit Agency in third countries. These projects often involve government agencies, private capital players, and technology providers, sometimes across continents. What makes such long horizon collaborations succeed?
So just to make sure that everybody understands what these projects are about. So usually these are big energy projects, gas to power projects, renewable projects, but it's a big energy projects. And each government has an export finance agencies. So they provide with the private sector a huge amount of fundings to support this project. And it's all usually government to government related long-term projects. So these are the kind of projects that I was fortunate enough to engage myself. Now, three things very important in this scenario. First one is policy. Second is technology. Third is relationship. And I'm going to explain one by one. So policy, as I said, it's a government to government agreement. So you need to understand what is the government priority of each of these countries and what are their growth strategy and their mission. Because unless you understand the needs of the market, it's very difficult to make these arrangements come forward. So policy is a very important starting point. In Japan in particular, in that time, they were talking about quality infrastructure, not just infrastructure, it's a quality infrastructure. There are other infrastructure projects around the world which may not be as high standard as what the Japanese companies can deliver. So Japanese companies, Japanese government focus on quality infrastructure. So that's the policy part. On technology, each project will have products, services, all these different technology requirements. So it is very important for us to identify which are the technologies that go into this project, as well as what kind of standards, whether it be a clean energy standard or a financial standard. The standard and specification is going to be very important and defining who will ultimately take care of this project. So there is a very thoughtful way of making sure that the best technology gets selected. And thirdly, human beings are working on these projects. So people-to-people relationship is very important. And particularly in Japan, we value long-term relationship. So when we launch a project and work with especially cross-border partners, we make sure that it is a long-lasting relationship, because it takes more than 3, 4, 5 years, maybe longer, to prepare for these projects. And once the power plant is up and running, it runs for decades. So it's very important from the beginning to make sure that there's a mutual trust and relationship. So policy, technology, and relationship all needs to be orchestrated to make sure that we have a successful project. And I think I really enjoy orchestrating such kind of very complex multi-stakeholder projects, and Japan has been contributing to many of those in the world.
That's great. And what would you say, Eriko-san, would be your one trait that helped you achieve all this?
I think kind of explaining the complexity into the simple terms is very important, because there are a lot of complexity in the projects, and if people don't speak in the same language, you never get to agreement. So untangling the very complex issue into a very simple way to work on it is very important. Maybe it's communication, it's problem solving, it's all the mixture that is required to bring this to the finishing line.
Totally agree with you there. And today, through Trinity Indo-Pacific Partners, you advise investors looking to diversify supply chains across India, Australia, Japan, and Singapore. Where do you see India-Japan collaboration becoming most strategic?
So, August of last year, Prime Minister Modi came to Japan to a visit. I was privileged to also participate during his visit in an industry economic forum. Prime Minister Modi and Japanese government committed to $68 billion of investment in the next 10 years. This is a huge commitment from both governments. And I see Japan and India being a very complementary, strategic partner who can work together for common goals. And what is the common goal is a question. For Japan, because of many reasons, our industrial policy or the economic policy is now based on what we call our economic security. We are very independent. We are very dependent on resources coming into our country. So when we look at India, the complementary strength of India is, of course, the size of the market, which is growing very fast, the abundant human capital is very attractive for Japan. On the other hand, Japan can provide technology and also the capital to build India's infrastructure, and also provide technology and upskilling people. So this is a very complementary strategic relationship that both countries has committed to work on. It could be critical minerals, semiconductors, clean energy, and so forth. And when you look at Japan and India, big economies, shared values, respect for each other, democratic countries, stable government, And we have all these common values and complementary skills and strengths. So I see now is the time for this great relationship go to the next level. And as Trinity Indo-Pacific Partners, we are very excited. Many Japanese companies are already investing in India. 1,400 companies are in India. 80% of them say they're going to invest more in India. So now is the opportunity, and we are hearing from the Japanese companies more things, exciting plans to come and do business in India.
It is very heartening to
Yes.
listen to that. And Indo-Japan is definitely, the collaboration is headed towards great synergy.
Yes, exactly.
Eriko-san, you now serve as a non-executive director at Nomura Research Institute and on the advisory board of Kyndryl Institute. From a board perspective, what blind spots do you see CEOs most commonly have today?
So I think the boardroom has now become very much of a focus of a CEO and the public to make sure that it is effective and the governance is healthy. But that is very challenging to make sure that the boardroom is effective and the governance is maintained. Not particularly where I serve, but generally speaking, the boardroom is members of people that the company have selected. And this could easily become a friendship club. And if there's an environment where people do not speak up and talk about the bad news, it's going to be very difficult for them to make a change or make good decisions. So making sure that there is a healthy debate in the boardroom, it's easier said than done. And to make sure that that continues in the boardroom, I think it's going to be a challenge. Also, there is a lot of attention from the secretariat about the details of the company operation. There's so much details so that people forget the big picture. I think the boardroom's responsibility is to navigate these complex issues with a big mindset and drive the big direction rather than focusing on the details. So I think the balance between the details and the big picture is a very difficult one for the managing the board. So I try to focus on those things when I sit on the board to make sure that there is a healthy debate, and also we stay at the very high level to make sure that there's a focus on the big picture.
Yes, and I think in today's fast-paced world, this is of absolute importance, very rightly said. Eriko-san, I will close with a very important question. If you were speaking to the next generation of global professionals, those who aspire to lead across cultures, continents, and industries, what would you tell them to focus on first and foremost?
So you said this individual have an interest in working across borders in different cultures, and if that is that person's interest and that's what he or she wants to do, I think the first thing they have to do is let the people around him or her know your aspirations. Because if you have aspiration and if you keep it to yourself, nobody would recognize, and the choices or the opportunity don't come to you. So don't be shy. If you know what you want to do, you have to communicate. You have to tell people around you what you want to do. That's how I have been communicating to the people so that people recognize what your aspirations are. I think that is very important. Also, if I could add, networking is also important. And in my career, I worked with big companies, but the turning point was when I started having an industry association role, what I mean by that is there are different industry organizations depending on what industry you are in, and taking on a position or a responsibility in the industry organization broadens your horizon all of a sudden, and you just meet so many different people from across the industry. And that has been a very important part of developing a global and cross-cultural and dynamic network that help you in your career. And lastly, if you want to work in a dynamic culture, you just have to take a step and get out of your comfort zone. You don't have to go to a different country. You can be in your own country and meet new people. Put yourself in a minority position and get to know people who have different perspectives. And this is very important in a very complex world where things are uncertain. Nobody has the answer. You have to navigate and collaborate with different diverse group of ideas. And you have to start doing this every day to have practice having a global mindset and diverse point of view. So that's a lot of things I've said. But if people want to work in a dynamic culture, it cross-border, those are the things that come to my mind.
Thank you so much, Eriko-san, for sharing your wisdom. It has been a pleasure to have a peek inside your mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.